Thank you very much. And I should say good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Creating business in a small economy. Following the presentation from the salmon industry, I will take the perspective from a shipyard and machining industry point of view. Best Shipyard is built on 120 years experience, where some 20 years ago, at the turn of the century, four companies were merged into one company, 3 shipyards and a processing equipment company. That made us have a sufficient muscle, if you like, have a sufficient size to compete internationally. We have to compete internationally because, unfortunately, our vessels can choose any harbor they like in the neighborhood. So we compare ourselves to companies in Norway, shipyards in Norway, Iceland, Denmark, Scotland, and in the neighboring countries. And, of course, our local competitors. Very briefly, we work in ship repair and shipbuilding. We have 300 skilled craftsmen, 2 yards, 1 processing equipment workshop, and a net sales of about 300 million kroner. We have facilities in Tórshavn with excellent modern facilities in workshops and slips, administration buildings. We have buildings in Skala with a dry dock and slip and some production halls. We also have a workshop in Runavík, a stainless steel workshop, where we work very closely with the salmon industry because they have some very stiff requirements regarding stainless steel in that area. And finally, we have supply of manpower to the Norwegian oil industries via our subsidiary PAM Offshore Service. Now, how do we do business in a small economy is the question. We think, number one, it's a matter of perspective. Being out here in the middle of the North Atlantic, between Iceland, Norway, and Scotland, you could regard it like this, that we are the tower at the edge of the world, like William Heinesen is saying. That could be the very end of the world, and that could be a perspective where we say this is it. But what we consider ourselves as being basically a maritime sweet spot. We see ourselves as being in the middle of the world. And to build on that one, we can see a maritime viewpoint here, where a number of vessels are crossing the Faroe Islands. This is just a week ago. You can see all the big oil fields just next door to us. This is very important. This is important for us. So we see the geographical position as a very good advantage for us. The cost of being small has gone down by the entrance of internet and transportation costs. And the management we have has an international perspective, like in many other companies in the Faroe Islands. There is a management with education and experience from abroad. And we attend international exhibitions and courses all the time in order to stay on top of things. And number two, we are flexible. Again, being out in the North Atlantic, you have to be flexible. This is built on a very old, good, long seafaring tradition with a high degree of flexibility and professionalism. You could say it's deeply rooted in our maritime history, where we're talking about good seamanship. Good seamanship means a way of living, a way of reacting in different situations. You have in different situations just to make sure that the problem is being solved. You cannot rely on someone else to help you or whatever, because being in the North Atlantic, being in the middle of the ocean, the ball stops with us. We have to fix the problem, and that's why we have very many multi-skilled people. And it's a way to have an overview over different problems as such. If you listen to Michael Porter, the professor, he's talking about competitive advantages of nations. And he's saying one of the preconditions is that you have to have the capacity to innovate and to upgrade. And the prerequisites to do that is, number one, strong domestic rivals. We have very strong domestic rivals, even if you like it or not. Aggressive suppliers, indeed we have. And finally, demanding local customers. I tell you, they are demanding. If we don't behave, they are just in Norway or Scotland, wherever, the day after tomorrow. So in all, we fulfill those requirements. And internally, we do quick decisions. Being a family-owned company, a management group with relevant mixture of skills, and finally, the decision-making progress is very fast and structured. This is an advantage for us being a small company, because compared with the very big companies in the very big cities, we have seen decision-making processes being very long. So this is, again, one advantage of making business in a small economy. Again, being a small country, I talked to someone in the break who has been a tourist yesterday, and as you appreciate, everything is very close. It's just a 1-hour radius. The infrastructure is good, short domestic distances, and we have quick service. The vessels we get into the Faroe Islands, into the fjords, they're amazed how quickly we can mobilize the services which are required. Number 3, you have to focus on target customers. That's what we do in the shipbuilding and shipyard and machine industry. The customer needs is as few days as possible in port. And secondly, as reduced downtime for processing equipment as possible. You almost have to be like a pit stop. Out again as fast as possible. If we don't understand that one, then we are out of business. Our customers, which are following very closely, are fishing vessels, modern fishing vessels, and not so modern fishing vessels in Faroe Islands, in a number of other countries. Russia, China, Norway, and a number of other countries. Processing equipment important for us, as well as oil rigs and support vessels, which is one of our target areas. Number 4, collaboration. We have to collaborate in order to have that extra scalability, because we cannot take on ourselves tasks if we're not able to scale our resources. So we have a very skilled workforce with experts. We invest all the time into those experts. That's not enough. We have to have advanced technology through various collaboration with international suppliers, and we do that. And collaboration with local companies, where we have additional people coming into our yard and into our company, just like we borrow them also other resources. And skilled resources from subcontractors abroad. Here's a team from Bulgaria, and last year we were up to 50 people coming into the Faroe Islands helping us in order to take the peaks which we have, and then they're out again. An example to take here is not Hidden Fjord but Bakkafrost, where we are doing our very best to be a part of their success. We try to be a part of the success of the salmon industry and do our very best to fulfill that one. We have an installation of packaging plant here, helping Bakkafrost. Sorry, it doesn't work. We have a wellboat in our dock. Catamaran new buildings. We have built 5 new buildings over the last 5 years, and rebuilding of a supply vessel here, where we install delousing equipment. We rebuild a vessel from the oil industry into a service vessel for the salmon industry. And finally, just talking to you about West Hercules, which was an amazing project for us, came into one of our fjords. We just wanted to do something with their propellers, but it ended up them asking us to do a 7-week project. It became a very big success because we included all of Faroese sub-suppliers, including some of our biggest competitors. And it became Initiative of the Year that year. Got some very good feedback from Statoil, saying that we'd like to thank for an extraordinary mobilization and thanking the Faroese population, etc., etc. So we were very proud of that one. The future, constant adaptation. We are also looking for the Northeast Passage, which is basically making us in the center of the world again. So we have a corporation where all Faroese industries are working together in something called maritime service. And we hope that we can go hand in hand along with the Faroese government in order to prepare ourselves for that. We are investing into new equipment, an oceanic vessel, as Mr. Hoytel mentioned before. And finally, I want to mention we have a dry dock here in the Scala, and what our customers tell us is that it rains from time to time. So what we're doing now is investing into a covered dry dock, which will make us much, much more competitive. Key points to success. Number 1, geographic location. Number 2, high flexibility. Number 3, focus on competencies in the maritime services. And number 4, competitive price levels compared to our competitors. Thank you very much. She's been aiming all the time. I try to make my best.
Just while you're still here, it just occurs to me, you were talking at the very beginning of this about how it was quite critical that 4 companies became 1 company 100 years ago. And Atle, who spoke before, talked about how critical it was that many companies became 1 farmer per fjord. Is there a thing where you feel that you have to have mergers when you're a small place like the Faroes to be able to punch above your weight?
Absolutely. In the old days, every fjord and every village has its own company. That was a tradition. But today we can see that you have to not just compare yourselves with the competitor next door. You have to compare yourselves with companies outside the Faroe Islands. So that is a thing, yes.
And do you keep every single letter that's ever been sent to you?
Do I keep?
That's a joke.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it.
Right, thank you.